Hey guys, Chris at Rockford Ordnance. We're bringing you a video today that you guys have been asking for forever, and that's how to clean your AK. So we went to the range a couple weeks ago and we got her a little bit dirty. Our SAM 7 side folder. We were testing some new ammo and we had a 1x6 mounted up on her and actually had some really good results, but she's all dirty now and it is time to clean her. So we're gonna jump in. We've got her clamped in the vise and we've got all our solvents and tools and everything we use here, and we're gonna run you through how we clean it. There's several ways to clean any rifle. You know, you can jump into a quick cleaning, wipe down sort of thing, maybe run a bore snake through a couple times, but we're going to do a deep cleaning here and show you what we do and a few tricks we've learned along the way. And whether you're a beginner or whether you've done it a couple times and you think this will bore you, stay tuned, because there's a couple tricks we'll use and you might just learn something, and maybe you guys can teach us something. If you have anything unique you do with yours, throw it down in the comments there. We'd love to hear from you. So come on along, I'll show you what we're going to use here. All right, guys and gals, here we go. We're going to tear into this Arsenal SAM 7 side folder. Took it to the range, put a few hundred rounds through it. It's not all that dirty. I had cleaned it, I don't know, a few weeks ago. But I didn't want one too scuzzed up and too hard to clean, but this will give you a good reference point. First things first, we'll make sure it's clear. And it is. Mag is out of it, obviously. You'll want to take off any optic you have. And this is just for YouTube. We're not showing how to modify anything or anything like that. We are simply taking the gun down to clean it. Field strip, clean it, and put it back together. A clean gun is a safe gun. We promote safety. So here we go. So you take off anything you had over the dust cover and expose it. Simply push in on the rear button and take off your dust cover. Dust covers tend to stay pretty clean, maybe a little bit of scuzz, but nothing too horrible. You can just wipe that out with a cloth usually. Let's talk about a few things first. I've been wearing nitrile gloves lately. I never did for years and years, and the older I get, I thought, you know, all these solvents and lead, and gotten concerned with lead lately with the amount of shooting I do and reloading. I actually have my doctor doing a lead test, make sure everything's okay. It can accumulate, especially shooting steel if the wind's in the wrong direction, that kind of thing, and then cleaning guns, reloading, obviously. So want to be safe. Make sure you wear some gloves. All right, let's push in on your recoil spring. Take that out. Slide your bolt carrier back. Twist your bolt, slide it out. Essentially your field strip, right? We'll take a look at things here. Bolt is in pretty decent shape. On these Arsenals, you'll start to lose a little paint on there, and you want to look it over, see if you have any metal starting to deform or anything like that, or you know, any metal pushing maybe in the wrong directions. This bolt looks pretty good. I don't know if you guys see something, let me know, but I don't see anything too bad. It does look like a little wear here on the lug, but nothing more than normal rounding. Just gets the gun a little smoother as it wears in. As far as the bolt carrier goes, you know, we've got a little carbon and whatnot up on the head of the piston and all, and the rest of it looks pretty good. Tail, boy, there is zero wear on that tail. Look at that. Nothing. This gun doesn't have a ton of rounds through it, but I bet it's, I don't know, 500-600 rounds, maybe 700 rounds, not much. I can feel a little nub here, but no big deal. And this is more of an inspection, guys, and that's why you're cleaning. You want to kind of inspect it and make sure everything's good. We got a little bit of wobble, which is normal. It's pretty tight, actually, compared to most. Other than that, looks good. No real dragging anywhere along here where it's wearing paint off. Everything looks good there. So no issues. Recoil spring. These are telescopic on these SAMs as opposed to the 2 wire loops, but you just want to make sure it's moving freely and that nothing's binding. Other than that, nothing much to inspect. All right, let's tear into the gas tube in the forend. We'll pry this up. If it's tough, there's this new tool out. Krebs is selling them, and it just helps you lift your lever for the gas tube as well as the lever for the handguard. So we'll show you how this works. There's a slot in this end here, and you simply put it over it, and watch this. Lift it right out of the way. A lot easier than some of them. Some are loose and it doesn't really matter. You want to line the part that intersects with the gas tube. You want to line it so it's straight up. It'll let you pull it out easier like that. And I'm not going to do it. Nope, I'm not going to do it. But you want to look in there, make sure everything's clean and not looking too bad. There's some crud in there, and we'll show you how to get that out. Let's pull it out of the vise here for a second so we can pull off the lower handguard. So we're going to use that tool again, and you've got a little lever right in here. You want to lift that up. So normally you'd use, you know, a screwdriver or something, pry in, scratching stuff, that kind of thing. But with this, you've got the fork end, and you just put the fork under there and pry up. How easy is that? No more broken fingernails, all that crap. And we'll just kind of get the handguard retainer and sling swivel out of the way there and pull this sucker down. Oh, I didn't take the cleaning rod out like an idiot. Let's do that first. See, I start doing these videos, I jump ahead of myself. And we might as well get the muzzle device off of here. So you just push down on the little detent here on the front sight block and spin. Now on this one it happens to be right hand threads, but on most AKMs, including Wassers, Polish guns, a bunch of others, most of them for the most part, have left hand threads. So this happens to be a right hand thread. Just push on the little detent there and unscrew it. And you can see how the crown of the barrel and all has got some scuzzies on it. We'll take care of all that. But yeah, once that's off, we can pull our cleaning rod out, and that's simply getting it out of the little notches there. This happens to be a 3-piece cleaning rod. I put the one in there just for looks because I hate the way it looks without it. The other 2 are stored on the stock on this. And then your handguard will pop right off. Notice it does have a heat shield in it. This one happens to have the OD green furniture, which is kind of cool. It's American made stuff, no big deal, but something different. And you know, they really work well. If you guys wanted to always keep your factory furniture, it's good stuff. Notice the barrel here. Now this is a fairly new gun. I don't know if you guys can see that bronzish color there under the handguard. You know, these are painted, and there's a lot of talk about Arsenal paint out there and how it holds up, but when we rub it, that gold kind of goes away. It's like something from the gunpowder, I don't know. But you'll pull it off and it might scare you, going, oh my God, oh my paint's peeling off or something. But I've had that happen on Arsenals. This one hasn't bubbled up, hasn't anything. It's holding on to its paint pretty good. That being said, if you're working on an Arsenal, or any AK that's painted for that matter, but specifically Arsenal, be very careful with the solvents you use, because even something as mild as Hoppe's, it'll take it off. I've had it take it off, so be careful. I would recommend something more along the line of CLP, which there's many makers of CLP. It's not really a brand as it is a label. Cleaner, lube and protectant, you know. Those seem to be a little milder, and I haven't had any trouble with that. But what I usually do on painted surfaces like that is just wipe it down with a microfiber and, like, I don't know, some gun oil, or this stuff here. This is also acts like a CLP, but it's more the oil in it that does it more than anything, and it's called Ballistol. Very, very mild. You can drink this stuff if it's non-toxic. It's kind of weird because it's oil or water soluble, so you can use it for a ton of things. You can mix it at a 10-to-1 ratio and use it for neutralizing the corrosives and corrosive ammo. So if you mix that up, put in a spray bottle, you shoot corrosive ammo at the range, spray your gun down with a 1-to-10 ratio of this, squirt some down the barrel, and you won't have to worry about that corrosion until you get home and clean it. Same with black powder, it works great. It comes in the spray, which is handy for parts, and then I didn't bring it over, it comes in a liquid, and you can put a pump sprayer in it. It's good for a lot of things. I don't subscribe to just one oil, one chemical. There's a multitude of things I found over the years that work well, and they all have their jobs. So this is one of them for corrosion, and for instance, the paint on these, it's a little easier on it. You can take Hoppe's or some stronger stuff, put it on a rag, wipe that barrel down, and you'll look, and the paint is just coming off all black, and you're down to bare metal that quick. So be very careful if you don't want to have to send your gun out for Cerakote. So we've got it down pretty much as far as you would go. We could take the fire control group out, which is no big deal, but I'm not going to do it at this point. What that would look like is just rotating your safety up, popping it out, taking your plate out, and removing the fire control group. And I've got some tips and tricks for that. If you guys would like a video on how to take it apart and clean it, I can do a separate video on that. Amazing how light this baby is after that. But yeah, now it's just a matter of cleaning. So what I like to do first is take the parts that have the heavy carbon and dirt on them and kind of hose those down with some cleaner, and then let them sit while we're working on the barrel. So typically, for instance, the bolt carrier, I would just take, so the reason I keep this old little bottle of Hoppe's is because I use it for dipping a brush in and scrubbing it, and that brush may have all kinds of carbon in it, gets this bottle all screwed up. And I keep the fresh stuff in the big bottle and just add to it as I need it. You guys will want to have a bunch of brushes around. These, some a little stiffer than others, some a little softer, and then a little brush at the other end. They work great. So all we do, and this Tipton gun vise is nice. It's got little holders here for your chemicals, so you don't spill them, and we just coat them here. Now you guys might see, if I left this on here for a while, on the painted part of the bolt carrier, you might see the paint start coming off, but it doesn't really matter, because on the bolt carrier at some point it's gonna get rid of a lot of it anyways, just from use, right? So we just soak it down good, give it a little scrub to let it start penetrating, and again, you can use any cleaner you like, but this is just to loosen things up, because we're going to come back to it when we're done with the barrel, and we'll give this its good final cleaning. So like I said, we just coat it up and set it aside and let it soak. We'll do the same for the spring, the recoil spring assembly. Just give it a little solvent in there. You can use a spray CLP, whatever works for you. In the gas tube, Same thing, run that brush in, and sometimes the smaller end of that works well. You can just get it in there to coat it real good. And like I said, CLP, I've been using a lot of these Lucas products, and I love the oil, absolutely love the oil. But this CLP I bought, and it works well too. And it foams a little bit, so we can get it in there and just let it soak while we're doing other stuff. Boy, the black is pouring out of there. Set that aside. We've got our bolt, and I'm just using whatever I have handy here. So we'll spray this bolt down with CLP real good. And look at that, just pouring off of there, guys. And we'll set that aside. Like I said, keep a good supply of clean rags or microfibers. I use microfibers, I like them a lot. They just absorb everything well, polish well, they do everything well. All right, you also may want to pay some attention to your muzzle brake, especially a 74 style brake like this, because a lot of the gases build up in here before they're coming out here, and you'll get a lot of carbon buildup. You'll also get some copper buildup, believe it or not, because as things blast out of that barrel, there's always some copper that is kind of, ooh, I don't know if it's made into a gas or what, but it just, you get some fine particles of it and it sticks. You can see some bluish in there. And anytime you see blue, guys, that's copper. Like the Statue of Liberty, it likes to turn that green blue, and we'll show you a good way to get rid of the copper. Eventually it'll build up enough in your barrel that you want to get rid of it, sometimes worse than others. We're going to go to the barrel. So what we're going to need there that we haven't shown you yet are some patches. Now you can use, again, I'm not trying to tell you what to use, but can use an old t-shirt if you want. Cut it up into little squares, appropriate size for the barrel. These happen to be for a 22 or an AR, so they're a little bit smaller. And we've got bigger round patches for 30 caliber, which is this, and these happen to be made by ProShot, made in the USA. Good thing, right? Out of Taylorville, Illinois. So unfortunately it's below the Cheddar Curtain here, but we don't have to go down there at least to get them. They sell these at a local place. And let me grab the 30 caliber and we'll start on the barrel. All right, so we've got our 30 cal patches. Like I said, they're just a little bigger and round. And the difference, guys, between an amateur and a professional is an amateur will do things in a process to save material, right? But a professional will use up tons of materials in order to save time. Don't be shy on the patches. We're going to use all of that and maybe some more. So don't be afraid to use it. That's why they come in these giant bags stacked in there, and they're cheap. We're also going to use our Tipton brush and jag set. These are a little higher quality than what you get in your typical clean all kit. Little nicer brush, and the jags, as opposed to a loop where you put the patch through a loop, they move through that barrel and really drive that patch into all the grooves and all. It cleans much better and much more efficient. It holds straighter to the walls of the barrel. You'll do less damage, all that kind of good stuff. So these aren't a ton of money, and it's got every caliber under the sun you could ever want, and they work great. So take your cleaning rod, if you have a multi-piece, whatever you have. This is a Hoppe's Elite. It's got a hell of a bearing in there. It's got a brass muzzle protector that's held on with O-rings there. If you're doing a precision rifle or something, it works well. And it's carbon fiber. It will not hurt your barrel at all. And the rest of the components are brass, so it's not going to hurt at all, period. I've already taken our jag out. That's a 30 caliber jag. You'll have one in your AK cleaning kit. I've found, well, certainly they're serviceable. You know, we're not part of the military and we want to make our guns last and be collectible and all that. Use something that's the right size, you know. There's a point at the tip of it, and we just take a patch and make sure you got one, or with these jags, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to get it down the barrel if you have more than one patch. We soak it in our solvent. You get it good and wet here. So we soak our patch in the solvent, and then you take the point and put it right in the middle of that patch. So it's hanging on there. And then we're just gonna go right down the barrel, nice and wet, and make sure, you can't see it because it's off camera here, but make sure you're holding the handle of the rod itself, because you want to allow the rod itself to twist to follow the rifling, and if you're holding the rod, it's not going to do that. That's why the handle spins. So grab your rifle, and you can see how much tighter these are, guys. Get it through there. I typically wet the barrel like that and let it soak, a few minutes. And you can see as we push through what we got, and you can see the individual rifling with that jag. So on a typical one where you fold it in half and put it through, you're just not getting that contact. You're getting a full starburst, you know, everything went through, everything got cleaned. So we set that aside and we'll let it soak a little bit. Once it's soaked like that, and I let it sit for a while, I switch over to the proper brush, and we screw it into the end here, and I dip that in solvent, get it good and wet, and then I run it down the barrel, and I will scrub that barrel, again only gripping the handle, and we'll scrub it a few times, whatever you feel is necessary. You know, sometimes they're dirtier than other times. This we're just going to do a few times, and back and forth. You know, there's some different ways to clean. If you have a bolt action precision rifle, you know, guys will go from the muzzle end sometimes. Here we've got an easy shot. I go straight through. I'd rather push the stuff out the front end. Some guys will say, oh, don't scrub this and that. Let me tell you something. Scrub all you want. A bronze or copper brush is not gonna hurt your barrel. It's just not. It's harder than that. And if it does hurt it, well, you probably want to find a different gun. But yeah, it's not gonna hurt it. A lot of old wives' tales out there. So we're gonna assume we had let that soak for a while. We brushed it a few times. Now we're gonna run a clean, dry patch through it, just like any other rifle. And we bring it through, and that pulled out a whole bunch of stuff. So what we do is rinse and repeat. We keep going. Usually I won't brush it anymore unless later inspection still shows that there's some copper or something in there. But typically we will just keep switching between a wet pad and a dry pad, and until it comes out clean. And simple as that. Now, you will find, especially using Hoppe's, I find this, sometimes it rears its head right away and you can see it, especially if you let that solvent sit in there for a little bit and it starts breaking things down. But you will see some blue, and it'll be, when I say blue, guys, I mean bright blue will show up on these patches. If you see that blue, there's copper in there, and that Hoppe's has broken down the copper. A lot of times I'll clean it at first and I won't see it in the first, I don't know, 6 patches or so. And what it seems to happen is that it gets rid of the carbon layer on top, and once it breaks through that, cleans through it, there might be some copper underneath, and it starts to break that down and you see it. And you clean and clean and clean, you think you're all done, and then you start to inspect the barrel with a light and everything, and you see what, you might even think it's rust and go, oh my God, my barrel's rusted. Nope, it's copper in there. You'll see it on the lands quite often, especially at the end of the muzzle, and that's copper. If that's the case, or if copper builds up too much, it can affect your accuracy. A little bit isn't going to mean anything. Those little stripes at the end of the barrel, that's not going to harm anything. But that was a dry patch now, second run. It's getting lighter, right? A little copper on the lands that you see at the end doesn't mean squat. But if it builds enough and it starts filling in those grooves, it can be a detriment to accuracy. So you'd want to get it out. And typically, you don't want it to build up that far. Maybe every other cleaning, if I notice it or I notice a larger amount, I'll use a copper cleaner. And what I use is that Sweet 762. This stuff, 762 solvent. It's like a gel, and you use it the same way as the Hoppe's. You'll put a little bit on a pad, doesn't need a ton, and you'll run the pad through there. Now this is a time when the hook, or where you put the patch through the loop, it's a good time for that, because with the Jag you really can't scrub with a patch back and forth. It'll leave it behind. But with the loop, you'll wet the pad, put it through, and it says scrub the barrel for, I think, 1 full minute. Yeah, 1 full minute. And then when you're done, take the rod out, let it sit. I think it says 5 minutes, but no longer than 15. The key ingredient is ammonia in this. Ammonia breaks down copper, and you'll want also, if you're going to use a brush, you want to use a bronze brush, because it'll literally dissolve your copper brushes. No more than 15 minutes, and then run a dry patch through, and then I usually go follow it with a regular normal solvent, and then I'll oil the barrel. But it gets rid of, you wouldn't believe the blue that comes out. It's brighter blue than these gloves. So, and you'll be amazed at how much comes out. It's like a gel, doesn't take much. It'll burn your hands a little bit if you get it in your cuticles or something like that. So be careful with it. Won't hurt the gun, even if you left it in, let's say 15 minutes. It could etch the barrel possibly. Not gonna like dissolve it or anything, but you definitely wanna pay attention to it. You don't want to leave it in there, and you want to get it all out. So we're already coming out pretty darn clean. I'm going to run another dry patch through there now. So like I said, we had just cleaned this not too long ago, and it was pretty dirty, and it had a little copper in it. We got it all out, so it's not too bad. And the more you season a barrel, clean a barrel, that type of thing, the easier it gets to clean. A new barrel is definitely harder to clean than an old barrel. They just get seasoned, heat, whatever, you know. Don't be afraid to use lots of solvent either in your barrel. The more you can get in there, the more it works. And you're cleaning your chamber kind of at the same time here. Now, we're going to show you how to clean your chamber too, because a lot of guys forget about that. And down the line, depending on the ammo you're using, if you're using lacquer coated ammo and all, that can build up in there and make things sticky, cruddy. You just want to keep it as clean as everything else, right? The chamber is a very important part. All right. They're coming out pretty darn clean. There's still some stuff in there, but not bad. I think we'll go one more time. I'm gonna run a dry one down here. Another one. see. Yeah, maybe one more wet one, dry, and then we'll be done here. We'll show you the chamber real quick. I may cut some of this out, guys, depending how long it's taken. This video is going to be long as it is, so I don't want to bore the hell out of you. But, all right, one more wet patch. Let's see here. And then we should be good. And I'm going kind of fast here, I know, but let's see. Yeah, I mean the solvent's off color as it is because I've been dipping brushes in it, but that was the first one that really had nothing else on it but solvent. So one more dry and we should be good to go. And I'll show you then what we do for the, alright, one more dry one. Make sure we got everything out of there. And so, there we go. Pretty darn clean, right? Good enough for AK. I don't know why it is everyone thinks that takes pride in, I don't need to clean my AK. Well, okay. To each his own, but you know, these guns now, well, probably because they were so cheap for so long, right? And nobody gave a crap about them. But now you've got guns that have become expensive and all of that. All right, so let's get to our other pieces. So the bolt we had scrubbed down and all, and we will just wipe it down. It wasn't that dirty to begin with. You know, on a deep cleaning, you could pull the extractor out, and all that looks like is knocking 2 pins out. The one that holds the extractor, one that holds the firing pin. Pretty self-explanatory. You may have to get a little dirt out from under the extractor or something. And for that, you want to keep a good supply of swabs. The wooden stick ones work pretty nice because you can push a little harder with them. But if you can rob your wife's, you know, makeup drawer or whatever, regular Q-tips work just fine, and they're a lot cheaper. I think those ones on the stick, those Otis ones, look at what I got out from under that extractor. And again, typically these are meant to get super dirty. It's not really going to affect much, but eventually everything will get too dirty to run, right? Just this platform does a much better job at running, frankly, when it's filthy, right? But again, that's why most AKs are overgassed to make them or give them a little bit more reliability. When you overgas the gun, it's slamming things harder, right? So if it's not going to work or not going to go, we'll just gas it harder and slam it in there. It'll go eventually, right? But, you know, today guys are using adjustable gas blocks and whatnot. And when you're doing that, you'll start to see more guns not cycling completely, stuff like that, if they get super dirty. But yeah, it's passable. It's not perfect. But again, for the video's sake, we scrub this down with a little solvent. Typically, I don't. Typically, I will do this. Wipe that spring down. See? That came off just from the spring there. I just grab it and pull and get the crud off. This is one of the few parts that I oil with Ballistol instead of the Lucas, and the reason being, a liquid oil is a pain, right, on stuff like this. I just give it a good done. That's going in the gun like that. So we'll set it aside till we're ready for assembly. Bolt carrier, it's been sitting. We'll wipe it down. Now, I have not scrubbed this. I mean, we soaked it in some in some hoppies real quick, but I wasn't, you know, scrubbing up a storm and just wiping. And frankly, I could have done this without the hoppies, but look at all that's gone. And I'll show you the reason for that. Obviously, there'll be some more up on the head, but even that is so much easier than normal to get off because of what I do. I don't have to scrape and scrub. I may do one more little coating of the hoppies up here just to get the end off here, but the rest of it, I use that Lucas oil. And you know me, guys, you've heard in a bunch of videos where I say keep the oil away from your gas system. This is part of your gas system. However, I will put a couple drops on here and just wipe it in with my fingers real good everywhere and then wipe it off. That stuff seems to season in there from the heat and everything and just keeps it immaculate to where you can wipe it. It does the same in the barrel, everything. The parts just come out so clean. It's unbelievable with just a wipe. It makes cleaning easier on ARs, incredible. But you don't want to leave it wet. You don't want wet oil in your gas system. You just don't. I'm doing a little scrubbing here with a nylon brush on the head of it here. And we'll show you what comes of it here in a second. Give me a minute to finish this and we'll show you. All right, did our little scrub-a-doo, and there it is. I mean, that nice, right? And that's it. All that's left to do on that is put the bolt in it, oil her up, and put her back in the gun. So we've got the bolt done, bolt carrier, and the recoil spring. We put some solvent in the gas tube here, and gas tubes typically can be hard to clean because of the grooves up here, and they get carbon in there that is just broiled right onto it, right? Always super hard to get out. You could scrub and clean forever and not get it all out, but typically the easiest thing to do, so I keep a tray of all kinds of odds and ends that come with different cleaning kits and stuff, but there's nothing better than a 12 gauge shotgun brush to run through your gas tube. It fits perfectly nice and tight. Matter of fact, I just stuck that one because I don't have it on a cleaning rod. Let's push it through here. But yeah, they work great. A little looser on this end, obviously. And if I can get it all the way through, it would be nice. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Anyhow, put it on the end of your cleaning rod, brush it through back and forth a few times, and you'll be good. And you will have a crystal clean gas tube. Little solvent and all, and then you'll just want to dry it out, and life is good. Another easy way to do it is just take a rag and kind of curl it up like a rat tail and stuff it up in there. Keep going till you, sometimes you can, if you want to take the time, you can go get them all the way through and twist them, and you'll still get a ton of dirt out of them. And that's just another way to do it if you don't have a 12 gauge brush or something like that. But yeah, you're just trying to get it from building up in there. It really doesn't matter if your gas tube's 100% clean. It's kind of self-cleaning, but you know, again, it's just about preventative, keeping too much from building up in there. And wipe it down and we're good to go. So we got the bolt done. We've got that done, Muzzle brake. Again, 12 gauge brush in there will work. It's a little loose, but you can work it around. You can use a thin brush with these stiff ends here and just scrub out the inside, and you'll be good. And again, I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't have to be immaculate, but if you're the type of person that wants it immaculate, make it that way. If you just want to keep up on it, fine, do a quickie and be done. Something's better than nothing. That's it. As far as the barrel, we did the barrel. I told you about the paint on these barrels being sensitive and some of this buildup on there. Now this bronze color, look at what came off. Can you see that? It's bright purple. That's what came off of just wiping the barrel here that was under the handguard. Now, I don't know if that is part of the paint from, you know, getting hot. The heat cycle keeps getting hot and cool. If it's gunpowder built up in there or what, but look at I hope you guys can see this purple here. It's literally purple. But I don't take solvent to this. I just don't. It will melt the paint. I do this Ballistol, and I haven't had an issue, but it cleans as well as lubricates. I think it's got a pretty heavy mineral oil base to it, is what I believe. Still some purple coming off. You can see where the handguard retainer goes around. There's no paint there. And that's the first one I've seen like that, I believe. I don't know, maybe not. Usually, you know, it'll wear where the groove is and all, but gas block. You can scrub that out with a brush a little bit if you want. Again, I wouldn't put oil in there. But not a big deal unless it's completely crudded out. You'll get a lot of exhaust gas inside your sight block here, so you can take a brush in there, but generally just wiping it out will get it. As far as the receiver goes and the chamber, you can get a chamber brush that looks like this. Here's a brand new one. Actually, this is for an 223 AR, but to show you, it's the same thing. So it looks like a normal cleaning brush of whatever caliber you're using, and then a wider brush at the bottom that fits the chamber. And you run it all the way up in, and when you think it's all the way in the barrel, you can give it a little more shove and you'll feel it go down into the chamber. And then you can just scrub your chamber out and make sure it's squeaky clean, you know. And then you can get a mop, again, a shotgun mop, the appropriate size for a chamber, and clean it out good with that. But typically, take whatever you're going to use and just wipe out your receiver. Your locking lugs up in there, you'll want to get in there and make sure all the crud is out of there. Typically though, just a dry microfiber gets everything out of there, unless I'm doing a super deep cleaning. I go along the rails on each side, make sure I dig out any crud that's in there. Back behind the fire control group toward the rear trunnion, maybe you'll get some little gunpowder buildup in there. I go through the mag well and wipe out in there. And really the receivers and toward the fire control group and all on these stay pretty darn clean. Even the most you'll see is maybe if you're shooting some lacquered ammo or something, you'll see some flakes of that. But typically you're good to go. And typically the ramp, the lugs, even the chamber get pretty clean running all those patches down there. So it's just a matter of drying it out and seeing what's going on. Good tool to have always. Where the heck did I put it? Here it is. Keep a nice bright flashlight. because you can really see, man, that chamber is immaculate. Holy cow. I am impressed. I mean, really, really clean. I can see some gunk up in here. It's amazing what you see when you put bright light on it. You'll think you're totally clean, and when you put a bright LED light on it, it makes everything stand out. I can use a little more cleaning up here in where the front locking lugs rotate and all. There's some gunk up in the front sight block. I can see where I missed just wiping off some residue, but everything else looks really good. Yeah, we got to get the front crown here a little bit and clean that off, and we'll be ready to put this back together. So be careful with your crown, guys. You don't want to be chipping away and scraping with scrapers, because your crown is very important to accuracy. So you don't want to, you know, be nicking it and gouging it and all of that and having to have a barrel recrowned or something. But typically what I do, and again on these Arsenals, the brake goes over that, so not a big deal. I'm not going to lose any paint there or anything. So I will put a little hoppies on there to break it down, and then just kind of wipe it off. So I'll just scrub the end of the barrel and the threads there a little bit as we go around, and I'll keep it off that front sight block because it will soften that paint. That's what it does. It softens the paint, and then the paint will literally wipe off with a rag. So it gets better and better as the gun gets older and the heat cycles happen, and it seems to like harden the paint almost. But I've had some that, you know, I'm not paying attention and I start cleaning and whoops, there goes the paint. So typically by that point, there may be a couple other issues with them, and I'll Cerakote the gun at that point. But look at what came off that crown. And we just did that with a nylon brush. Nylon brush is not going to hurt the crown. All that carbon's off the crown. All your threads are clean. Everything's good, and it'll thread right back on like nothing. And that's it. We are good to go. So let's show you how we oil this to put it together. Now, you do you, and I do me, and I run my ARs and my AKs probably a lot wetter than the average guy does. But on the bolt, I put a few drops on the stem and rub it around, spread it out. I put it on the locking lug faces, a few drops. I essentially soak it, and then on the lugs themselves. And anywhere you see a wear point, guys, or bare metal, because these are painted, and in the rails here where they run on each side, I put oil. I just make sure they're good and wet. On the carrier, I told you with this Lucas gun oil, I will put just a couple drops, and I'll spread it around, and then wipe it off dry. I mean, really well. I don't, because if you leave oil on it, the oil is going to burn. But you just want enough to season this thing. And the heat, I don't know exactly, but my thoughts are the heat seals it in, seals the pores of that metal, and it cleans so much better the next time. So in your carrier, I lube the bolt, but I still use a couple drops in where the bolt runs. I put it in the side rails here where it runs on the receiver. And again, you'll see wear spots, so you'll know where to put it. And then I put it here on the bolt groove that causes the rotation, right? And we put our bolt in, we rotate it and push it forward, and we are assembled and ready to go in. So, yeah, let's do our handguards, shall we? Again, normally I'm not stripping handguards off and everything, so I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we'll move the handguard retainer out of the way and put the handguard on, get it into the front of the receiver there and seat it well, and then move that sucker down. If you left the sling on like I did, make sure it's not twisted, or you'll have to take your sling off later and untwist it. But get your retainer on there and line it up with the groove. And if you can't push it down, a few taps with a hammer will work, or you can use our special tube. Ours went right on. Alright, so that's all good. Let's line up our gas tube lever, put it in the front, and slide it down in. And then we'll lock it back down. Now that is stiffer, so I'm going to use this tool that Krebs offers. And we're going to put it over the end of the lever here and simply work it down into place. That clicking you were hearing was my front sight. It feels extra hard, and I don't want to. You can break levers, guys. Just remember that. Let's see, and I don't want to do that. So I got a feeling I didn't have it all the way down in. Make sure it is all the way. Sometimes you'll think it's in, but there's more room. You'll get a little squeeze there, maybe the spring or whatever. But there we go. And you'll go reefing on them, especially with this tool. You're not feeling it like you are your fingers, you know. And you end up breaking it or something. Alright, so that's all on. We're all good. Gotta get some of this oil off of here. It's everywhere. That still doesn't feel right to me. And no matter how many times you've done this, guys, you'll find that something may not feel right, you know? And you want to make sure it does. So, it may have been just fine there, but to me, it didn't feel right. I don't know why. It's probably not seated all the way. But yeah, it does not want to go in there. Why is that? It's not feeling right. Let's see if something is in the way. Of course, it happens when you're filming, you know. If I wasn't filming, this would go just perfect. Let's see. Everything seems fine. Ah, see? I knew something was holding it up, that extra click. And you'll feel it, guys. You shouldn't have to force things even on an AK. Now look, boom, right in. Now it's right. And I knew that because I saw that groove wasn't even all the way across. Not to say that everything on an AK is going to be even all the time, but I could feel it. So don't force it. You'll end up breaking that, and then you got to have it re-riveted and all. It's a pain in the neck. Anyhow, now, bolt carrier. Boom. Recoil spring. Boom. And make sure, ooh, like butter. Nice, 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 nice. Let's put our muzzle device on, shall we? Getting there, almost done. Probably a long video, much longer than I want it to be. Push down on the little detent, screw it down. Hopefully you can get it all the way around and nice and tight, but most you can't. There is a way to do it. I can do a video on that for you too, but this one's only about a quarter turn off, so it's still nice and tight. No issues there. And all that's left is to put on our top cover, and we will get the grooves in there want to do it where you guys can see it, so let me get it back in here. I'm trying to do it without it. There we go. All right. Check your function, even though you didn't take your fire control group apart, but you want to make sure you're getting a reset. Obviously your safety is going to work, but yeah, all good, all done. Give it a little wipe down, get some of the excess oil off. At this point, I'm going to take off these damn gloves. Look at what went into your hands, huh? That's dried on there. A lot of that bronzy stuff, looking stuff from that ammo. Anywho, I did not put some oil on the rails and on the a couple drops in the front trunnion there, which I normally do, so you may want to do that. I'll put some on the rails, on the front trunnion, face of the trigger, and that's about it. It is functioning well. We can slide our primary arms 1x6 back on and lock it in, and we are ready to go. So I hope that helped you guys. I know if you've been doing this a while, you know how to do it, but maybe I showed you a couple tips, tricks, that type of thing. And for the new guys, hey, we've all been there. So keep your gun clean, keep it working great, and it'll serve you for many years to come. If you have any questions, please ask them down below. If you want to see a cleaning video on a certain platform, rifle, a different AK, whatever it may be, ask. We'll do it for you. Trying to think if we missed anything. You know, gun oils, solvents, cleaners. Guys, that's a personal decision. You'll kind of get to know what you like after a little while, but I've been doing this a long time, and I'll tell you what, this Lucas gun oil is slicker than snot. Their CLP works great. The patches I used, Hoppe's, can't go wrong with Hoppe's. I do find their oil to be too thin. Don't forget, on AKs, if you're in the south or hot climates, or even, you know, anywhere in the summer, you can use grease on some of it, and Lucas makes a nice grease that works great on AKs. Don't be afraid to use that where on places where you want it to stick, to stay. Rails, it works good, all kinds of stuff. And yeah, great rifle, looks good with our green Circle 10 mag in it. Really like it. It's really accurate. It's done really well with our By 39 project and our reloads. I'm going to bring you those reloads, show you what we've kind of dialed in on, and they're working great. We were shooting some incredible groups with this gun, but hope you enjoyed it. Cool rifle. Enjoy whatever you got. You got a Wasser, you got an Arsenal, you got a Yugo. I almost grabbed a Yugo to do this because it was dirty, but I knew I had shot this and I wanted to get it squeaky clean to put it away. We don't shoot it all that often, but I was using it for the By 39 project and didn't want to put it away dirty. So there it is. I'm sorry for the length, but just wanted to cover everything. Oh, one more thing. So if you're using gloves, fine, but if not, fine too. You go to the range, you're shooting all day, it's hot, it's dirty, it's sweaty, all the smoke and everything's blowing back in your face. We talked about lead earlier. It's a serious thing, guys. Hoppe's Lead Be Gone wipes. So I have a problem. I shoot so much and all, I get it embedded here. I get blackheads from it. But the biggest thing is just the residue on your hands. You know, you take a break, eat lunch, maybe you smoke, or you're putting a dip in or something, and it's lead, and you're ingesting it. It's poison. Poison. I started feeling not the greatest and just weird, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have a lead test done. Now, I haven't gotten the results yet. I'll bring them to you guys, but I got a sneaking suspicion with all the reloading I do and the shooting and cleaning and doing that they may be a little raised. So, you know, they tell you use these on your hands, use one on your face, wipe down your neck, your ears, everything. You would be amazed at where all this crap goes in the air, especially if you're shooting steel, things like that. When you hit steel with a bullet, it vaporizes, literally vaporizes. And the wind can carry it. Never shoot standing downwind of your target, because that stuff will be coming in and you're inhaling it. Not good. But these at least help you minimize whatever exposure you may have gotten from whatever activity you're doing, and they work well. Hey, plus you can get in your car or whatever and not screw it all up, right? Or go in the house, screw up your wife's walls and doors and whatnot. I get yelled at for that. But anyhow, just something else I thought I would bring you. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for checking out the channel. Check out all our other cool videos, our Instagram, our Facebook. Check out Tuesday nights. We do our live stream. It's called Coffee and Kalashnikovs. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. So 8 p.m. Central. Check it out right here on the Rockford Ordnance channel on YouTube. Usually if you subscribe and like down here, you'll get a notification when we're doing it. We try to do it every Tuesday. We fail once in a while, but pretty much every Tuesday, and it's a lot of fun. We talk AKs, we talk all kinds of platforms. We take your questions, we answer them. So it's what you want to talk about. We will have one little subject we talk about, but it's mostly what you want to talk about in the chat. The chat is fun. Everybody's become friends over the years. Come join us. It's a lot of fun and a good time and a good way to break up your week. So hopefully we'll see you there Tuesday. Again, guys, thanks for checking in. And as always, Rockford Ordnance out.